Welcome filmmakers, fans, and friends to Indie Cinema Showcase, your #1 source for filmmaking, conventions, and everything in between. I'm Christina Carmona.
And I'm Nando Roman. Together we'll be bringing you the best and brightest that Florida has to offer with a focus on Central Florida.
In today's episode, we'll be speaking with actor and ghost hunter Fran Rafferty to find out what's been the spookiest place he's ever searched.
We'll also revisit some of our past events and then travel to the Enzion Theater to hang out with Tim Anderson as he lets us know what films we should see before we die.
All right, let's get things started.
Hey guys, in the studio today we have something a little bit different. We're in the studio with Fran Rafferty, Paranormal Investigator. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys. I feel honored to be here. Absolutely, it's been a journey. Let's just say that.
Yes,
Definitely,
yes.
and we're definitely gonna get into that. You and I, we have all known each other for quite some time now. So it's interesting knowing, where you came from, how you got into the business, and then what you're doing now. It's something that's off the beaten path. So
Yeah.
we're excited to explore that.
So, how'd you get? What's the journey? Because I know you've acted and all that, and bodybuilding. I know you've had quite a past of some cool stuff. So,
Yes, it was
yeah.
a past. So let's go ahead and take us back. Chapter 1. Golly, I gotta say, in the very beginning of what got me into what I'm doing today is the experiences that I had as a little kid growing up, And I gotta say, when you bring these little experiences to your parents, they look at you funny, or they try to say, look, man, you just need to shake it off, and you're seeing things. You need to get back to bed and get some sleep. Well, problem is when I was a kid, I had all these visions of this we could call it an apparition. Some might want to call it a shadow ghost, but it was this person that wore a trench coat, completely black, featureless, and he wore a hat, and he would appear right in the corner of my room, of course, next to my closet.
Oh.
All right, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and just look at this thing, and I'd be absolutely terrified. Now, I didn't have any kind of sleep paralysis or anything like that. I knew there was someone standing in my room.
Right.
Knew it.
Did you have anybody in your family that maybe had this kind of vision as well?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you see, I could only talk to my grandparents about it. They're the only ones who ever understood me. From my father's side, my dad was a coal miner, by the way, and so we moved. My dad moved us into a small coal-region town because that's how the housing was back then, and all the miners were all together and whatnot. And we lived right down the street from my grandmother, who I called my Nana. And I would tell her all the time of all the experiences I had, and she never dismissed any of them. She knew.
Right.
She knew exactly what I was talking about. And she never told me to pray about it. She never told me to go ahead and make any kind of sense about it. She says these things do happen, and there's a reason behind their visitations. So I try to find the hidden message in all this. And I gotta say, it probably led me to what I'm doing today, because I think every single day I'm still kind of reaching out there, doing these investigations and trying to uncover the truth behind all this.
Right. Now, when did you actually start going full-fledged on paranormal investigation?
Oh boy, I got to tell you, after the pandemic, we all had some really rough times, and I was working, and I still am working for Ghosts and Gravestones, which is out of St. Augustine, Florida. We do nightly tours and shows for the public, and so right after the pandemic, we would bring in 25, 30 people into the show, and that was too many people to actually put in one place because of the CDC restrictions. Right. So what we had to do is we had to cut down the numbers, and we couldn't really do a whole show for the Ghosts and Gravestones. So one of the general managers, David Chatterton, great friend of mine, fantastic man, he decided, he's like, hey, Fran, why don't we go ahead and do paranormal investigations? Let's cut it down to maybe 10 people, have some investigation work where you could go through, you can, show them, the jail, and maybe we could get some equipment. And I don't think he knew this, but that was just my passion. I was ready to go as soon as he mentioned that. I was like, this is an opportunity that just landed right here on my lap by fate.
Now, do you guys document any of this?
Yeah, in the investigations I do
Yeah.
now,
As far as like, do you tape it? Is there, okay.
I am fully, oh my God, I'm all about documentation. I have journals. Everybody thinks I walk around with a Bible, but it's like the size of, I write down everything that goes
Right.
on. Everything. Trying to find some type of connection to all of this. Like, I'll research my notes. I'll go through everything I've written in the past, 10 years and try to connect the dots and figure this all out. But it's still a
Wow.
mystery. It's
Have
still a
you have
mystery.
you gotten a lot of people maybe with similar stories?
On the internet, yes.
Oh,
On the internet. That's why I knew a Hat Man was an actual entity,
okay.
or an
Wow.
agent, whatever you want to call it. I know in 2022 we call anomalies and entities agents, because that's what they want to be identified as. At least that's what what I know so far. But yeah, so this agent, I had no idea that there's so many different people around the world, and all these different cultures are
Right.
experiencing the same exact thing. Same thing. It's like, what?
It's crazy.
I know, right? And when you hear this, it gives me okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not having
No,
hallucinations.
Like we said, we told you earlier on when we were off
Listen.
camera, was like we've had our own paranormal
Oh
stuff
my
that has
God.
happened. We're not going to get into it
We
because
should.
the show is not long enough for that.
Exactly,
But,
right? I'm telling you,
we,
right
we understand
now.
where you're coming from. It's like, and most people
Yeah.
would think, like, oh my God, you guys are a bunch of crazy people. I'm like,
Like,
well,
no.
yes, that's besides the point. I am crazy, but we did still experience these things.
Yeah.
Now,
Very real things.
Now, question for you, like, doing the stuff with the paranormal, with the society and what you do. How do you feel like, for example, like TV shows like back in the days, like Ghost Hunters, things like that. Like, do you yourself would find it beneficial to have something like that happen, where like you have like cameras documenting, or do you feel that like it might interfere with what you do?
That's a great question. I got to tell you that most of the time that we do our investigations, our nightly investigations, because we're 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because paranormal activity doesn't sleep, as we
Right.
all know. And it doesn't just happen at night, it happens during the day. And that's why most activity happens, like people notice it at night. It's because there's less hustle and bustle.
Right.
It's more quiet. People are paying attention.
Yeah.
They hear that thing happen in the other room. They'll hear the footsteps on the second floor when there's no one there. They're like, wait a second, is there someone up there? And no, there's no one there. But what was that question again?
Yeah, I was
I'm
like,
almost waiting for
no, yeah, I know. We're looking
I
around.
just
like,
start getting crazy
noises, yeah.
thinking.
So we're talking about like having like a camera crew
Let's
along
talk
with
about
you.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the next logical step in the process is getting a camera crew, to have eyes in all aspects of the building or the property that we investigate, because it's the only way to get things done. What I have noticed through all the investigations I have done, and I have done hundreds and hundreds of investigations, it seems when you're not recording, when
Right.
the cameras go down, when the batteries get drained,
Of course.
That's when things
magic.
lighten up. Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
are you kidding me? It's like they're playing us. It's like, are you serious? It's like everyone's recording. We got everything going, and I noticed this is something y'all need to know. It's usually the most activity usually happens in any property I've ever investigated. It's the moment that you shut down the cameras and everybody is genuinely saying, we're about to leave, packing up, ready to go. It starts happening.
And then it happens.
They're like, hey, don't go just yet. Like, hang out with us a little bit longer.
So what I have discovered, I've learned the terms of this agreement that we have with our two worlds, and I think it's not on our time, but on theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to reach out to us when they feel it's necessary, not when we think it's necessary. Some people like to do it for entertainment, but when they reach out, there's a message behind all this.
So, for your company itself, like, are you mostly focusing in just like you were saying, like the education of like the paranormal and investigation, or are you guys planning on doing something more with it?
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. My company is Paranormal Investigations of America, and what we do is we work out inside the old St. Johns County Jail, which is located at 167 San Marco Avenue there in St. Augustine. And what we do is we bring people in and we educate them on how to use ghost hunting equipment. We teach them the process. We give them a skill set. And so when they go in the jail with us, we're hands-on with everybody, and we teach them the way of the paranormal investigator. And we explain to them how first-hand encounters are something that are few and far between, but most of the magic happens in post-investigation. That's when you go back to the footage that you acquired inside of the property and you review it very meticulously, methodically, with a headset on, and that's when you'll see most of the activity, and that's when people really get taken back by everything, because they're just not ready to process this.
Right.
Yeah. Some people. Yeah.
Right. There's one thing to like know it, but then when you like see it, then you start the denial process again, right?
It's like,
You're like,
did
wait,
I
no.
really see that, or did I not really see that? I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a bug coming across the screen. I don't know.
Right,
It's like, you know,
right.
you get into that phase where you're like questioning what it is that you're watching.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating, though.
Wow. Well, thank you for all of that information. I
Absolutely.
think you guys have to check out St. Augustine because, I mean, St. Augustine is awesome, but it's also very haunted. And you have a professional here, Fran Rafferty. I mean, where can we get that information?
You could go on Old Town Trolley Tours, or just type in Old Jail After Dark. And we have our investigations nightly. We start at the witching hour, which is something that's the first of its kind, because most of the time St. Augustine shuts down really early. It's just like one of those, you know, little cities that has to shut
Maybe
down.
there's a reason why it's a town that's afraid of darkness. You know, it's like there's a reason why they all go to bed early. You know,
Closing up shop.
Yeah, so we open up shop at 11:59. So when the witching hour strikes at midnight, and the witching hour isn't 3:15 like most people think. It's 12 o'clock to 4 a.m. That's the witching hour, and that's when we perform the investigation. So we give individuals 2 hours of uninterrupted time inside the jail. Now, the first half hour we do, that's not part of their 2 hours. We educate them on the paranormal. We teach them how to use the ghost hunting equipment, and we try to give them some confidence to go inside the building. Because after people hear the introduction, we get some people that are like,
maybe not for me.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And it's just how it is. Because
I mean, I think that Indie Cinema Showcase needs to go out there, or we need to do something. You know, Nando, I know you want to go in first and do all that stuff.
You know, if one of us is going to get taken by ghosts or possessed, it's going to be me. So we might as well, you know.
Then I'm getting it. Then that's what that means. Fran, thank you so much for your time. This is like one of the coolest interviews, I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah.
Listen, like you have so many great stories and stuff like that. Like we may have to turn this into like a series or a movie or something like that, because they just listening to your childhood alone. That I would pay good money at a movie theater to watch your childhood life.
Oh,
so
Yes.
oh, well, I appreciate that, and thank you. And I see a great partnership in the making right here.
Absolutely.
I see this blossoming.
Yeah. We all wore the same color scheme.
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we did.
did.
We got the
We're
memo.
in.
We got the memo.
It's fantastic.
So guys, definitely, you guys want to check this out. Check out, go to the website, find out more information about it, and you know, do it in ghost hunting. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's good for your soul. You know? Thanks again, Fran.
Oh, thank you.
If you would like to be a guest, have something to promote, or have your film featured on the show, email us at icstv@yahoo.com or visit us on our website at indiecinemashowcase.com.
Watch past episodes on YouTube, Rumble, Roku, and Apple Plus by searching for Indie Cinema Showcase. And finally, follow us on our socials, Facebook at ICSTV and on Instagram and Twitter at ICSTV Show.
Welcome back. Now it's time for our segment we like to call On Location with ICS. In this episode, we are visiting Dry Creek, the only full Western set here in Florida. We got to speak with the owner, Les McDowell, and learn about his past and how this Western set got built.
And we've made it to Dry Creek. Now, Les, why don't you just take us on a tour and show us everything you have here?
Okay, but you got to walk like a cowboy.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
I've got a fat horse. Well, this is Dry Creek, and if you look over here, here's the mill off to the left.
Nice.
And we've actually got a big, we can turn the water wheel on, and it can actually work, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. And now, is this just a facade, really?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
facade. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
And every time when we shoot something at Dry Creek, we build something, you know. So
Right.
that's kind of it. For that scene, there was we needed horses out on the outside of town, and
So it's build as you go.
build as you go. Yeah,
All right, cool. And we have a fish co here.
yeah,
Very nice.
yeah. And a Western set's got to look lived in, look old. A lot
Right.
of times you see a low-budget Western being done, and it's done with plywood and stuff.
Right.
It's got to look lived in.
And now, did you build this all yourself? Did you have help?
I'd like to say I did,
All right.
as far as build it myself, but I didn't. I had, after I got started, my Facebook went overnight to 5,000 people, and so many people love the Western.
Right.
And they came out and helped. A lot of people helped, and and it brought wood, and I got wood from different places, old fences and whatever.
Nice.
Now, I have to ask, like, are those mostly authentic, like, stuff for like blacksmith?
Yes, matter of fact, that is, and matter of fact, if you could bring a blacksmith back from the 1880s, he could actually do his work there.
And they'll fit right in.
And we could bring more tools out. That anvil came from Little House on the Prairie. And the last week of shooting there, the guy that ran the property there gave me that anvil. I brought it all the way from Simi, California.
Very cool. Now, what was the first thing you built? What was the first building?
Well, over here, I put up a false front and a boardwalk.
Okay.
And I do cowboy poetry, and I did it for a set. And I thought, hey, that'll make a neat set. And then somebody said, hey, wait a minute, let's build more, and we just kept building more.
Nice, nice. And so we were just in the sheriff's. Is that the only
Inside?
inside?
No,
Yes.
right here is inside, and they just did a motion picture called, it's a short, called The Hanging of William Kane, and they made a bank out of the inside. It looks great.
Oh, nice. And I
And-
see you have some costumes in there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And we've got all of our costumes too. We got a lot of costumes and tall boots and nice hats. Like for instance, this hat right here came from Baron Hats out of Los Angeles. Tommy Lee wore a hat like this, so I called him, and they made his hat, and they made me one. So I try and get them from Baron's Hats in Burbank.
Okay, so your hat is way cooler than mine.
No, I like yours.
You're just way cooler than me in general.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, so you have the church here. I see you also have a little outside church here where you can.
Yeah, the reason for that is the television series that we did, Dry Creek, we put an outside, we had a scene, so we built an outside church out there. And in
Right.
Florida, they used to have, I forgot what they call them now, but there was outside churches because it was so hot inside. And not only that, look at our church, the interior is not that big to get cameras and stuff in there, so we would shoot out there.
Very nice.
And I see the area that I'm staying away from is the Hangman's Gala.
All right.
It'll end bad for me.
I think I've got the only hangman's gallows in the country. And that was just put up for this one R.J. Hendricks's film called The Hanging of William Kane, and it's just going to be a monster. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, what is the upkeep for something like this?
It's bad. It's really hard because you're using old lumber, you're using this, you're constantly propping up, and working on it. So the upkeep's a lot. It really is.
Right, right. Now, are you planning on building any more?
It just kind of depends. A lot of times now, a production company will come in and they'll say, I need a bank.
Right.
And so like the last film, they put a bank in the inside of the general store. Now the next one that comes in, when they come in again, they're going to make it back into a general store,
Oh, nice, nice. All right, so what are these last few, a couple here? That's just, I mean, I guess that can fit in for anything. You can just kind of dress it up.
Yeah, I had Michael Landon tell me on the Little House set that always have something behind, something you can see
Right.
to make the set look bigger, and that's what these are. There's a well over here, and then there's the feed store, and we can back a wagon up to it with a team and have people loading hay or sacks of grain, just anything like that. It looks like a busy town.
This is really cool. Yeah. Really cool. I'm from the Bronx, so I just know big cities, and right now I'm feeling like I'm at home. I don't know what happened, but it's awesome.
Maybe you got a little country in you.
Maybe. Well, thank you for the tour. This place is so cool.
Thanks
So
for coming out.
Of course.
For our final segment, we travel to the beautiful Enzion Theater, where the Caesar of cult classics, Tim Anderson, lets us know which films we should see before we die. Take it away, Tim.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, I'm Tim Anderson. I am programming coordinator here at the Enzion Theater in Maitland, Florida. And these are some films that I think, as independent filmmakers watching this show, you need to see before you die. So it occurred to me that I have not yet talked about a documentary, and there are so many amazing documentaries from the past all the way to just a movie I saw this week that is definitely my #1 film of the year. So if you follow me on social media, you'll hear what that is later. But the one I want to talk about, we actually, at this last Florida Film Festival, did a panel called The Uncertainty of Nature-Driven Documentaries. And the idea was to do a panel. As a documentary filmmaker, you often know the story that you are going to capture, but you don't actually know that you're going to get that. So, for example, this year's Florida Film Festival, the film was called Path of the Panther, and they had never filmed a Florida panther in the wild, and honestly didn't know if they were ever going to be able to get one on tape. So there's an inherent risk in making movies that way. The other thing that kind of happens is, I'm going to go cover this subject, but you don't control that subject. You were there as an observer, and of course there's an idea that nothing can be observed without being inherently changed. But the movie that I want to use as an example of not knowing what to do and then sort of magically getting involved in something incredible is Harlan County, USA, which is directed by Barbara Koppel. And this is a legendary film nominated for the Academy Award, part of the registration at the Library of Congress. And in June of 1973, Barbara Koppel, who was a young 20-year-old filmmaker, decided to go to Harlan County, Kentucky, which is a mining community. And if you're fans of Justified on TBS, you know all about Harlan County. But she was there to document a labor dispute between the residents of the mining town and the mine operators. In coal country, there is a lot of towns that existed where every single thing, all the homes, all the shops, everything was owned by the mining company. So Koppel was there to film this labor dispute, and what she ended up getting trapped in the middle of was an all-out war between the residents of the community and the mining company. And when I mean an all-out war, I don't mean that they were in the streets yelling at each other or throwing rocks. I mean, she is in people's homes being shot at by the mining company and shooting back at the mining company. And all of this is on camera. And it is an incredible film. It is an incredible document of a kind of time and community that I don't think that we think about, but to a degree still exists inside of this today. Now, maybe that means that that's Google campus and everybody just kind of lives there and probably are not going to start shooting each other anytime soon. But you never know. What I think about it is that as you make documentaries, this is a film that I think you should see, not just from a technical standpoint and from a historical standpoint, but as a reminder that your job is to point the camera and get everything you possibly can, because many times the story you ultimately end up telling in your documentary is going to be built in the editing bay. And you may be sitting on tens of thousands of hours of footage, definitely going to be sitting on hundreds of hours of footage. And what you craft from that story should be an honest interpretation of what you experienced. But it's very unlikely, unless you're doing a very simple, straightforward, subject-based talking heads documentary, anything that you're shooting out in the wild, anything that you're trying to capture, any boots on the ground, active documentary filmmaking, you're never really gonna know what you're gonna get, and your ability to roll with the punches and then later be able to find that passion inside the story is an incredibly high hurdle and something that I think is important to get a chance to go out there and look at those kind of documentaries that kind of dealt with this in incredible ways, but also to be able to look at documentaries that have experienced extremely long shooting period times. Like a good example there might be Hoop Dreams, directed by Steve James, which follows, you know, Chicago basketball kids through their entire high school existence. So, really great movies, really important stuff. As documentary filmmakers, I think it's incredible work that you should take a look at. As just fans of cinema and people who just want to watch something that you can't literally believe happened, Harlan County, USA, absolutely one of the best, top documentaries. Cannot recommend it more. Thanks again so much for joining me on this one. Nando, Christina, throw it back to you.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of ICS. We want to thank Fran Rafferty for sitting down with us and Tim Anderson for those great movie suggestions.
We hope you learned something new, saw something that you love, or got inspired to get off your couch and go make a movie of your own. Who knows? It might be good enough for us to screen here on the next Indie Cinema Showcase.
Don't forget to follow us on our socials, Facebook at ICS TV, Instagram at ICS TV Show, and on YouTube, Rumble, Roku, and Apple Plus by looking up Indie Cinema Showcase.
And if you want a chance to have your work, event, convention, or film festival featured on ICS, send us an email at icstv@yahoo.com.
Until then, the set is closed, and as they say in the movie business, that's a wrap.
We'll see you next time.